like majority of people are in here, so we're going to get started right now. We want to welcome everyone to our latest webinar with Gyi Tsakalakis, and he's going to teach you how to market your website all yourself, help you do SEO, use Google AdWords, and eventually get on the top 10 of Google yourself. So getting started, we're going to introduce him. He is on the line. Gyi, can you hear us?
I can.
Awesome, awesome. So first of all, I want to thank you so much for joining us in the webinar today. For everyone listening, I met Gyi about 2 years ago at the ABA Tech Show in Chicago. I've seen him there every year since, and he's one of those guys that when you meet him for the first time and talk to him, you realize how knowledgeable he is in all these topics. So we are thrilled to have him on the webinar. So once again, Gyi, thank you so much for joining us. And just
thank you. Thanks for the kind words.
Of course. And just introduce him to everyone that don't know who he is. So Gyi helps attorneys earn meaningful attention online because that's where their clients are looking. In 2008, he actually founded AttorneySync.com to provide transparent and accountable marketing services to lawyers. He also serves as the vice chair on the ABA's Law Practice Division, blog, and social media group. And like I said, he regularly speaks on topics related to client development, including the AAJ's annual marketing and management seminar, ABA Tech Show in Chicago, and Clio's Cloud Conference. And he also owns 4 coffee makers. So which coffee makers are those, Gyi?
So it's kind of absurd. I've got a little bit of a coffee habit, but I have one of those Violetti's, a pour-over coffee maker, a regular drip, and a French press.
So you got everything for whatever you're in the mood for that day, I guess.
Yeah, it's a little bit out of control.
He is also an attorney, by the way, and he is a Moz local trusted partner, a Yext partner, and a certified Google partner in AdWords and Analytics. So if you have any questions throughout the webinar, just use the included chat. Send us your questions, and we're going to get to it at the end of the webinar. All right. Now, one very important thing about this webinar, this is a very practical, hands-on webinar. You do not want to leave this webinar in the background or you will get lost. So definitely get a notepad or pen or take notes on the computer because everything we're telling you today is no fluff. It's just straight practical things you can use on your website today to get ranked on Google. All right. Now, this is a quick summary of the 10 things we're going to be covering today. How to build a website, or if you already have one, how to upgrade your site, how to define yourself in your competition, what is your unique value prop, how to get traffic to your site, free and paid traffic, how to get a professional or free 800 number, how to get local, stay local, and use Google's local search ads, how to blog correctly, how to make your site rank in Google, track the results, and lastly, using live chat. So the first thing we're actually going to do is a little poll that's going to pop up on your screen, and we want to know, do any of you do any paid advertising online today? And there's 4 answers. Yes, you do it today. No, you don't. A lot of people tried before, but it never worked. Or yes, you do, but only with Google Ads, because there's a lot of paid advertising out there. And let's wait a few more seconds. And Gyi, while people are answering, it seems like one of the things that I realize a lot is that a lot of people, from your experience, they use Google Ads because they heard about it, they spend $1,000, they don't really see results, they don't know how to track the results, and they end up giving up. Do you notice that as well?
Yeah, so my take on this is that Google tries to make it very easy to get started with AdWords, right? So all you need is you sign up for an account and add your credit card number and make a deposit, and you're up and running. The problem is that it's much more sophisticated than that. It's not the same thing as putting a billboard up or running a TV ad. And so that's where you end up seeing things like people, they type in a keyword lawyer, but it's on broad match, and Google matches it to all sorts of different keywords, and you end up wasting a lot of money on that, and you don't have tracking in place. You really have no idea. So you pay per click, but you have no idea what they did.
Exactly, right. So just for people to understand that if you're targeting a lawyer keyword, someone could search for what is a lawyer, how much do lawyers make, what's a good law school for lawyers, and your ad might get found, and people might click on you having nothing to do with you. So that's why it's important to know what you're doing, hire an expert, because they'll be able to to block all this stuff from happening. So we are going to share the results with everyone so they can see what the results were. Okay, so it seems like majority of people said no, they haven't tried it, but a close percent has tried it as well. All right, let's get rid of that. Okay, so the first step in doing SEO for your website is obviously having a website. It's one of the most important tools for your firm that can make or break your credibility. Now, Gyi, I have a question for you. Do you think having a bad site can do more harm than good?
Well, absolutely. I mean, I think the one, forgetting about all of the ways that you can generate traffic to your website, today's legal services consumers expect to be able to find information about you online, and part of that is going to be a website. And so it's, in a lot of cases, even if it's an offline word of mouth referral, your website is often that first impression that you're leaving with that prospective client. And so if your website is out of date or isn't responsive, doesn't look good on a smartphone, that kind of thing, you know, you're making a bad first impression.
Right, I definitely agree. And the thing these days is that it's so easy to build your own website using like Wix or site builders that are free. The problem is they put a huge banner on the bottom, created free by Wix, so it doesn't really look so professional to your customer that you just made a free website yourself. And also, your website is your brand. It's your image. It's the first impression people get of you as a law firm. So if it's not good and it's not professional and you just drag and drop some things yourself, definitely could do more harm than good. And you know, you can build a website yourself by going to GoDaddy, buying a domain name, going to themeforest.net, finding a WordPress theme, and then you could use a website like Upwork where you could find a freelancer for $300 just to build your site using the template you found. And for $300, it really doesn't cost a lot of money, and it gets you a really nice professional-looking website for $300. So it's worth it, trust me. If you get one extra client from it, it covers the cost, obviously. All right, now moving on to step 2. Someone comes to your site, and they come to a ton of other lawyer sites. They're looking for an attorney online. They're looking to book you or hire you. So your site needs to have what we call a UVP, a unique value proposition, which basically means the primary reason someone should be your client. Why are you any different than your competitors? Why should they hire you than the guy next door? So, Gyi, I'm going to ask you, put you on the spot a little bit. When someone calls you for attorneysync.com to kind of help them out, what is your unique value prop? What sets you apart? Why should they hire you over someone else?
So the two biggest things that really set us apart are, one, we don't do long-term agreements, so that means we're accountable for delivering results every single month. That's not a lot of our competitors offer that.
Oh, I like
and
that.
Then 2 is exclusivity. So we offer, if we work with a client, we're not going to work with your competitors down the street. And again, that's the type of thing that you don't see as often. But I think that's a really important point is when lawyers are thinking about this, you know, you go to someone, as you've mentioned, you go to so many law firm websites, and it's, you know, we fight hard for you, and we have 100 years of experience, and everybody's saying that. So there's nothing unique about that.
Yeah. And,
what's your unique value proposition, David?
Well, before I get into mine, I wanted to tell you something about yours. No long contracts. That's actually a one that I've never heard before, and I love that because we're actually going to talk about it later on, where people are afraid of starting to work with an expert like yourself, for example, because they're afraid of getting locked into 6 or 12-month agreements, not seeing results, and then paying for nothing. So I like that you're holding yourself accountable every month for results. I never knew you do that, and obviously exclusivity is a big one. So I guess with ours, at PracticePanther, there's so many other companies out there, our biggest value prop is that we try to be the easiest, most intuitive, and user-friendly software out there. So unlike others, there is no training needed, no long webinars needed. You don't need to sign up for 20 webinars to know how to use our software. It's like an iPhone. When you turn it on, you know how to use it. You can start working from the day you sign up, and that's a big one for us and for our customers. All right.
Just works.
Now, it works. It just works. Exactly. That's the idea. So the next step is a phone number. So if you're local, let's say you're in Miami, Florida, you can have a local phone number. What we've noticed is that a lot of people, when they see an 800 number, it acts as a more professional appearance to your firm. Wow, they have an 800 number. It's very professional. It's a legitimate company. So you can get your own 800 number for less than $15 a month from any of these 2 websites, RingCentral or Phone.com. And they can give you professional extensions and menus and music and a schedule that's going to, route them to a voicemail after hours. So it's really cheap and affordable to do this. It's $15 a month. Now, if you want to go with the free route, Google actually gives you a free business phone number in any zip code, any state, any area code you want, and it's a free number that forwards to your cell phone. Okay? Now, any of these three companies will have iPhone and Android apps, so you can check your voicemails online or on your phone, and you can read your voicemails and do all the sort of fun things. And two fun bonus tips. Fiverr is a really interesting website that a lot of people use that you should get familiar with. Basically, you can get or buy anything online for $5. So you can get a professional voiceover artist to record your greetings. So when someone calls your law firm, they could say, "Thank you so much for calling the law firm of Gyi Tsakalakis, and press 1 to connect your call right now." So it's a professional voiceover for $5. Or if you want something even more advanced, there's a company called callruby.com that is a professional answering service built for attorneys. So it's like a virtual secretary. So whenever someone calls your office, someone is always answering the phone and always greeting them with whatever greeting you want them to say. So it's like you're always available for them. You never miss calls, and then they forward the calls to your cell phone. Or they help you screen calls so you don't get a lot of people soliciting you. So very good on that. Gyi, anything to add on this?
Yeah, I guess the only thing I would add is that I think it's, we typically recommend having a toll-free number, and we'll get into this with the local stuff a little bit later, but we also think it's important to have a local number as well. Some consumers prefer to see the local area code, local carrier information, because it gives an inclination of where they're located. And then, answering the phone is critically important. So who answers it, how they answer it. So many lawyers still think that they can just let calls go to voicemail and they'll call them back. And again, the legal services consumers of today, they just don't have the patience for that. They're moving on to the next one. Even when you're getting word-of-mouth referrals, we've seen instances where they're getting multiple referrals, and they're shopping lawyers. And so a lot of lawyers don't like to hear that, but unfortunately for lawyers, that's just the world that we live in today. And so it's imperative that you're answering your phone very quickly, professionally, and answering it at the times of day that your potential clients are calling.
Right, because think about it. If someone's in an emergency, they're looking for a lawyer, they're calling the first 5 they see on Google, and if you're not answering and someone else is, you're losing that business essentially.
Right.
Yeah. And also one more thing to add, with any of these companies, you can get as many local numbers as you want. So if you want to be local in New York and local in Florida and local in Orlando and Miami, you can get unlimited local numbers for an extra $4 a month, which is very helpful. Now, talking about getting local, so Gyi, I know that you really advocate along the RDP method, relevance, distance, and prominence. So give us kind of an explanation of what this entails.
Yeah, so I can't take credit for these. These are really the primary factors that Google uses for showing businesses in the local pack. And so those are the local business listings that appear in Google when you search for, personal injury lawyer Chicago, and they've got, you'll see the review and phone number, business information. And so we'll go through each of these, but to appear in those local pack results, those local map results, these are really the big three that Google talks about and that we've seen help businesses get into the local pack. So we'll start with relevance.
Okay, awesome.
So this is straight from Google's support documentation on their Google My Business. You can look this up online too. But ultimately what we're really talking about here is making sure that your business information is consistent across the web. So the acronym here is NAP, your firm's name, your address, and your phone number. And what happens a lot of times is the way that the local data is populated, sometimes the address might be incorrect, or you might have an old phone number, or you might get a toll-free number or a tracking number into this local ecosystem. And those inconsistencies can really hurt your ability to rank. So to me, this is kind of table stakes. There are two tools you can use to help navigate this stuff. One's Moz Local, and the other one that we like is Yoast. So you can use those to check for inconsistencies, suppress duplicates. But that's really kind of the foundation. You've got to have that stuff right. even to be in the game. And there are a myriad of sites that you want to make sure that you've got this information correct on. If you go to the next slide, I think we show David Mim, who's at Moz Local. Again, if you want to learn about local search, head over to Moz Local. Just search Moz Local in Google, and their site will come up. But there are all these different sites that search engines use to see how consistent your business information is. And these are the more primary ones. Then there are like legal specific ones. So legal directories that make sense. The most relevant legal directories. You don't have to make sure that you're in every single lawyers-directory.biz type of directory, but the major ones, things like lawyers.com or Avo,
right.
You want to make sure your information is correct in there too, because those secondary legal specific directories also play a big role in this. So that's relevant. Again, pretty much making sure that your information is correct.
Right, so Yext, from what I understand, I never used it, but from what I understand, they can help you get all your information correct across all directories, so you put it in once and it does it for you?
Yeah, well, not all of them, but a lot of them. So there are these major data aggregator sites, and Yext and Moz Local have feeds that populate them. So it basically gives you an interface for the majors. Some of the, some of the smaller ones and some of the legal specific ones, you're still going to have to do a manual correction. What I really tell people is search for your firm name, search for your name plus address plus phone, and different combinations thereof, and in Google, and you'll see these listings will pop up. And if you see places where there's incorrect information, you're going to want to go to that site and claim it. It can be a little bit more cumbersome than that, especially if you've got an established business that's been around for a while and maybe changed location. You start to see a lot of these inconsistencies. But Moz Local and Yext are a good starting place to get those foundation listings correct.
Interesting. So if you changed addresses or phone numbers, but you forgot to update it across everywhere, Google will actually penalize you or not show you results as often as before?
Right, disastrous. If you move office locations and get a lot of these inconsistencies, and even if you were highly visible in the local pack results, you can completely fall out of the results. Or if you get like tracking numbers, get onto these listings, it can be a real big mess.
Wow, I didn't know that. Okay. So how does distance play a role in all this?
So distance is really a matter, Google wants to serve these businesses based on both the user's location and also what the user's intent is. So user's location can be pretty easy, whether they're logged into Google or they use the, some kind of geo-tracking on your mobile device or, a combination of our IP addresses, information they know about you as a user. They can try to get a guesstimate of where you are actually located. And then there's the search intent, which is, I might be located in one location, but I'm looking for something in another location. So at the end of the day, what Google wants to do is based on the intent and the location, they want to serve up the most relevant businesses. And so there is a factor that's taken into consideration about how far your office is. So, one of the things we see all the time is we get lawyers that will say, well, my office is in the suburbs, but I want to rank for major competitive terms in the city, and the answer is that you're going to be fighting an uphill battle if your office isn't located in that city. So typically, again, this becomes tricky because there's a lot more business decisions that have to go into your office location, rent and where do you service clients and all that kind of stuff. But at the end of the day, I think it's important for people to know that distance from where the location that the searcher is looking for or the searcher's location makes a difference. And anything that you can do to improve that, either taking, getting a second office in a major city if that's where you want to attract clients from small business results or local business results, then that's really something to think about in terms of improving that distance factor.
Interesting. So let's say someone was driving around Miami, Florida, and on their phone they pull up Google and they're searching for a family attorney. Google is going to naturally show them all the family attorneys within their radius or within their area, correct?
Right. And we've seen that the radii can vary from location to location. So in some markets, depending on the business landscape there and depending on the vertical you're in, Google will show a broader section of the area, and sometimes they show a very
slide of this. Yeah, here's the slide basically.
Yeah, so here's an example of, this was just a search I did in Chicago. So, you can see that it's very centralized. So there are even, firms that might have stronger relevance or prominence that aren't necessarily located in that downtown area, but because I'm searching Chicago divorce lawyers, they're really showing me what we, in Chicago we call that the loop area lawyers, which are really the downtown area lawyers. And so if you're not in that location, it's not to say that you can't appear here, but your distance factor is going to be weighted against you, and so you're going to have to really improve those relevant prominence scores in order to appear for these kind of searches.
Right, got it. And then basically to create a listing yourself, so you get up here, you have to make a free account on Google Places, correct? Is it called Google Places?
Yeah, in fact, the buzzword now for Google is Google My Business. So if you search Google My Business, they'll walk you through the process. They've changed it like 30 times, so I don't feel bad. But Google My Business is a big thing right now, and you really want to have that's kind of a starting point too, because you've got to have, that's where you're going to send happy clients to leave testimonials if that's permitted in your state. That's where you're going to make sure, you want to make sure that you claim that profile, make sure you've got accurate information in there, link to your website, fill out the description information, categorization, your office hours. Again, another rule on this kind of stuff is fill all these profiles out as completely and as consistently as you possibly can. Sometimes folks will say, well, I claimed it, but I didn't fill out the description, or I didn't enter the categories. That stuff can hurt you on the relevant stuff too.
Right, and just for everyone listening in, I used to actually have a computer repair and security business a few years ago. It was a local Miami business, and Google Places or Google My Business, we made a free account. We put images and videos and information about us, and within 3 to 6 months, we were on the top 3 results of Google. And the biggest thing that helped drive a lot of clients to us was the reviews. So, on Google, whenever you're searching, people also see the reviews you have. If you don't have a 5 out of 5 or you don't have more than 5 or 10 reviews, they're going to be selecting the companies that have more reviews and better reviews. So if you are on here, as you can see on the left, you see like Michael Craven Divorce Attorney had 4 reviews. And if they were 5 out of 5, I can probably guarantee the majority of people would be going to their site first. So if you are on here, if you're not, definitely get on here. And if you are, make sure you get reviews from your clients. Make sure they're as good as possible, because it does help a lot drive traffic to your site. And then I think the last thing with Google is prominence. So what is prominence?
So prominence is really the most important one. Like I said, relevance is kind of table stakes. There's not a ton you can do for most firms for distance. So prominence is the one you want to work on. And long story short, prominence is based on the information that Google has about you from around the web. And this includes things like links from other sites. This includes things like news articles, directory listings. They've also said that there's a factor of having positive reviews and ratings on your Google My Business page. So this is the kind of stuff that's more traditional SEO type things. But what I always tell people here, if you really wanted to fill things down, it's local links, right? So if you get links from city-specific and relevant organizations linking back to you, that's going to move the dial the most. So some examples of that. If you're a criminal defense lawyer, if you can get a link from the Innocence Project chapter in your city, that's going to be highly relevant and highly authoritative. But it doesn't have to only be that. It might be someone that is a blogger in your city, or you might get an interview from a local news site, and that article links back to you. Or you do a sponsorship at a local organization and they link back to your site, or a scholarship at a local school. So these local links, when they're very specific to your area, when they're real organizations, we're not talking about link building with like SEO-king.biz type, but real organizations linking to you. That's what we've seen moves the dial the most for ranking in the local packs.
Interesting. And that's where I'm guessing all the shady SEO companies come into play, where they just buy you 5,000 bad black hat links, which just destroys your site.
Right. Well, yeah. So don't do that. I always say the thing about black hat is that it works until it doesn't. I can't tell you how many times we've gotten calls from lawyers who have done that kind of stuff and said, I was ranking #1 and I don't know what happened, and you go into their backlink profile and it doesn't look good because it's all links from like Russia and some other places that aren't as relevant to your practice.
Right. So, so basically, you want to get links also from everywhere, social media sites as well that help.
Yeah, I mean, the social media I really include because it's not that those links themselves are really, you know, passing some kind of page rank or link juice, so to speak, but participating on those platforms helps encourage other people that see you there to link back. So the example might be, if you write something and you post a link on social media, you might gain access to somebody in your local area that actually has their own site or blog or whatever organization that would link back to you. So you know, Twitter and Facebook and LinkedIn are great for amplifying and getting your content in front of the right audience. Those links, I don't think I would focus so much on getting them, but they indirectly help you get links from some of those other sites that are really important.
Got it. So basically, Google's looking at if you're relevant, you have good local links in your area, are people talking about you online? You have to have the whole package, basically.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, that's the thing is I always say to people, there's really not one specific thing to focus on. You know, take a holistic approach, and you'll see that a combination of, I mean, even this is the other thing too that a lot of lawyers don't think about, but doing things offline, doing things in the real world can have a very powerful impact on your visibility in search results. So, you know, speaking at a school where they actually publish that on their local newspaper, or they put it on one of their, like a real press release for the school, or taking a leadership position in a charity organization or sponsoring some kind of charity event that you're passionate about, or taking a leadership position in a local legal organization. So if it's your, you know, local association for justice, if you're a trial lawyer, or if there's a, you know, a specific practice organization in your area that you can take a leadership position on, that they add a, you know, some a leadership bio about you. Those kind of signals really help Google understand and improve your prominence score.
Interesting. All right, so tying this all into SEO. So this is a very heavy note-taking slide. So let's start off by asking, what is SEO? So Gyi, what is SEO? What does it stand for? And what does it do?
So most straightforward answer is it's search engine optimization. It's really anything that you can do to improve your visibility in search results.
Yeah, I hear an echo, so I think someone else is on the call. Let's just mute that. Okay. Yeah. So basically, SEO stands for search engine optimization.
Right. And so there's really two buckets that I put all of search engine optimization in. There's the things you can do to your site. So that's more like the technical SEO. That's fixing HTML and a bunch of other things that I won't dive too down the rabbit hole on. But there's on-page, fixing your pages. And then two is the off-page stuff, which is all the things that happen around the web. And those are, you know, primarily we're talking about links there, but it can even be mentioned. It can be social, but basically people talking about you and linking to you from other sites.
Interesting. Okay, cool. So basically the whole goal is to optimize your website, pick a keyword, stick with it. Don't try to target 40 keywords. It's going to be way too hard to rank for. Try to go as local as possible and your website will rank. So we're going to go over a few tips that you can use today after this webinar on your website today to help you rank. So the first thing you could do, our first advice is to stick with a few keywords, even one if you can. So one keyword meaning there's something called a long tail keyword, which is, let's say you are a family attorney in Miami, Florida. That could be your long tail keyword, family attorney in Miami, Florida, that whole kind of phrase. So that phrase could be the title of your website. It could be on the footer of your website. It could be all over your website, but you want to stick with the same phrase, basically. Now, it's really important to make the keyword local. And by making it local, it means that you're saying where you practice law. So I am a family attorney in Miami, Florida, or in North Miami Beach, Florida. Okay, so it's really important to add that local aspect of it. Otherwise, you know, you're not going to be able to rank for the entire U.S. It's just not going to happen. It's much easier to rank locally. Now, once you have that phrase, you want to add that phrase, that keyword, to the title of your site and the description of your site. So we're going to get into a plugin. If you use WordPress, it's called Yoast. So you want to write that down. To download the Yoast WordPress plugin and install it, it's really easy. But basically, the goal is the title of your site, the footer of your site, so at the bottom of your site on every page it will have that phrase. On your home page, there's something known as H1, which pretty much means it's the biggest possible font you can use on your home page with that phrase, if possible. Now, everything in moderation. So we're not telling you to add this phrase 40 times on your page. That's called keyword stuffing, and it will actually hurt you more than help you, but in moderation. So that's very, very important. Now, what does it mean? Why should you make your keyword that big on your page? Because Google will see all this, all the robots will see all this different text on your page, small text, big text, and generally if something is bigger and bolder, they will place more importance on it. And then lastly, you definitely want to write a blog post including that keyword, something like how to find a family attorney in Miami, Florida, how to compare family attorneys in Miami, Florida, some, what's the word I'm looking for? Can you help me out? Some variation of that phrase as a blog post. And we're going to get into blogging in just 2 slides, and we'll cover that in a second. So the next biggest thing is getting traffic to your site. Well, Gyi, before I jump ahead, anything you want to add on that?
I mean, I guess I would just say this: focus, as you said, I think it's important to think about optimizing a page for a phrase without trying to optimize for like every phrase. And this is page by page, so don't make the title of every single one of your pages the same. Right. Just going to be duplicative. But we've really moved to this idea of what is the purpose of this page? What are you trying? What are you trying to convey, or what are you trying to do with this page? Or from a search standpoint, what problem is this solving for the searcher? And optimize around that. So if you're, if you have a page that's like frequently asked questions about like, to make something up, but like things to know after you're arrested type of thing. You don't need to have a page that says, what did you do after you're arrested in Miami? What did you do after you're arrested in Miami, Florida? What did you do if you were arrested for, theft in Miami, Florida? That kind of stuff. Like Google's onto that. So, write your pages naturally, but make sure that you're not. The big thing that we see is you're missing title tags, or you're missing meta descriptions, or you're not using H1s. You've got multiple H1s. Those types of on-page issues can hurt you. And you can read again. If you go to Moz, or if you even go to Google, talks a lot about this stuff too. If you look for like Google and SEO, but they'll give you good guidelines for writing your pages in a way that you're not going to shoot yourself in the foot.
Awesome. So the next step is getting traffic to your site. So a lot of people say, all right, cool, I have a great website, I have it optimized, but no one's coming to my website. How do I get people to come to my website and to contact me and to hire me? So there's a few different ways, free and paid. Avo is probably one of the biggest ones that is free and paid, and they're a directory for attorneys. Now the thing with Avo is that they automatically create profiles for you that you have to claim. So it's a very good business strategy on their end, but the bad part is that if you don't claim it, automatically they give you a bad rating. So Gyi, tell us a little bit about Avo and what do you think about them?
I think that it's like you had mentioned, they're gonna have a profile. So what this means is that if people, when they search for you by name, if say you have no website and you have no online presence, Avo is probably likely to rank for your name. And so I don't believe, though, this might have changed, but last time I looked, if you don't claim your profile, I don't think they give you a score until you claim it. The challenge is, though, is once you claim it, you're for sure going to have a score, and then you want to do things on their site so that you can improve your score. So that includes things like participating on the site, speaking engagements. Some of it, a lot of it's algorithmic, so it's things like how many years you've been practicing. But I think taking leadership positions, and I think it's there are a bunch of other things you can go and that you can do to participate on Avo that can help to improve that score. But I think it's important to think about that when you claim your profile, especially if you're a new young lawyer, and that's going to be a primary thing that's visible for searches on your name. You don't want to have a low score there because people are going to say, oh, even if they got your name in the real world, they're going to be wondering why this Avo score is so low.
Right.
On the other side of the coin, though, Avo they're very good at SEO. They are going to appear very prominently for even what we would call non-brand searches, so searches that are just related to your practice area, so Chicago personal injury lawyer and that kind of thing. And so getting visibility, even organic visibility in their directory can be good as long as your profile, is a asset instead of a liability. You can generate a lot of traffic that way. They also have paid ads. They also have the answers that you can use so that people will post questions in there. I think it's important that if you're going to participate in answers, remember your ethical obligations. Don't try to answer questions that you're not qualified to answer. And ultimately, I think it's important to keep a note that at the end of the day, most lawyers will tell you that consumers that have legal questions really need to talk to a lawyer that's experienced in their area offline, and not just rely on an auto answer to make it some kind of legal decision.
Right. So, and just to add on that, reviews are really important, and especially with your score. So if someone finds you with a low score, like you said, it's not going to look good. But also if they're searching for a family attorney, let's say, and you're at the bottom of the list with one review, and there's 100 other people ahead of you with more reviews, no one's going to click on your profile. So getting listed on there isn't going to just do wonders. You have to really work on your profile, have images, have information, claim the profile, obviously, and get a lot of your clients to give you reviews so you can rank higher in that directory. And eventually, when you have enough reviews and you're ranking high enough, maybe then you can look into the sponsoring, advertising side of it with them, and that's where you can get a lot of traffic. Now, we, as a software company, have a lot of experience with directories, and I can tell you that the top companies in any directory, usually the top 5, will get majority of the traffic. So just keep that in mind. You always want to be on the top of any directory you can get on. Same with the next thing, online directories, legal directories. The whole goal is that if someone is searching for you or for whatever you're offering, and they keep finding you on every directory, at the top of every directory with good reviews and a good rating and a good score, they're going to say, wow, this person is everywhere, and they're doing so great, I have to contact them. That's the goal. The next one down is what we talked about before, Google Places. That link still works, but you can also search for Google My Business. So this one is how to claim your free listing on Google so you appear on their map locally. And the next one is Google AdWords. So I know you're certified Google AdWords, so tell us a little bit about Google AdWords.
Yeah, so AdWords, that's how you pay Google to advertise on their platform. It's that's their big product. That's what they're making their $15 billion a quarter on. I would say that if you're going to run AdWords yourself, spend time to learn about it. They have a whole training course. There's a lot of different ways you can get information on AdWords, but make sure you really know what you're doing before you just put $1,000 in there and bid on a bunch of keywords. In fact, it's probably worth, if you're going to manage your own account, it's probably worthwhile to get certified yourself and even go beyond that, because the certification is pretty basic. There's a lot of things you need to think about in terms of choosing geographies and keyword bidding and negative keywords, and there's a whole bunch of new extensions that you can use, and call-out extensions and phone extensions, testing ad copy. So there's a lot more to it, I think, than people realize. If you're going to do it yourself, great, but spend some time learning. Otherwise, if you're going to hire somebody, make sure that they're transparent about what your spend is versus what their fee is. There's a lot of companies out there that put that in a black box, so you don't actually know how much they spent on your behalf versus how much of your money went to their fee. Yeah, very scary stuff. So watch out for that. There's a whole there's all sorts of stuff online about how to hire an AdWords professional. And of course, if you have any questions about that, you can feel free to contact me. I can let you know what I think. But be careful out there, because the internet is still the Wild West to a certain extent. So the more transparency, the better. But just be careful.
Yeah, and
same with an SEO professional for that matter.
Yeah, I agree. Google AdWords, they just make it. I feel like they make it so easy. They have like a quick start that you can now go in, do it yourself within 5 minutes. They make it so easy to spend money with them. But the problem is, it's such a basic AdWords campaign that they are really opening up the floodgates for everyone to click on your ad. So you're getting clicks, but they're such bad clicks. And what generally happens, you'll spend a lot of money right away and get no results and never do it again and have a bad taste in your mouth forever. So my recommendation, do not do the easy way out, because you will not be happy. If you have time, buy a book, read online. There's a really great book. I mean, it's about 500 pages, but it's called The Ultimate Guide to Google AdWords by Entrepreneur Press. It's a really good beginner setting up your first AdWords campaign, or hiring an SEO professional like Gyi or like someone else, and make sure they're transparent, obviously. And then, like you said, you can do a lot of things offline as well. So one of the things you could do offline, join your local bar association. You can network. You know, BNI is a networking group that's all over the world, and you can, you know, share business and trade leads and stuff like that. So whatever you're doing, make sure you track the results as much as possible. Gyi, anything else to add on this?
No, I think these are all really good things. I mean, you can also get traffic in a lot of other ways, right? So you can get traffic if someone writes about you. One of the things that's really effective about link building is that if you get visibility on a whether it's an article or a post or a page on another site that already gets a lot of traffic, but you get a link there, you're going to get a lot of click-throughs, so you can generate traffic that way. Just like we talked about earlier, take a holistic approach to generating traffic. Don't rely on any single source of traffic. Don't rely just on search traffic or paid search traffic or social media traffic. Get a nice mix in there, because, you know, things change over time, and you don't. It's just like investing in stocks. Have a nice
diversify your portfolio.
Yeah. Right, exactly.
Yeah, I'm just thinking of that. So Google Ads, they also have local search ads. So explain that.
So this is more recent. This is actually just so if you haven't seen this, you're not freaking out. This is a mock-up based on some information that Joy Hawkins is another person very smart in the local search space. If you ever want to follow someone that's putting out some really great information, check out Joy's stuff. I think she was at SMX Advanced or SMX West. I think it was SMX Advanced. Anyway, Google was talking about how they're going to be adding these ads to the local pack results. And so we're not exactly 100% sure how it's all going to roll out, but this might be an example of what it might look like. And you can see that, you know, this person now would be paying for that top spot in local. And I think that's important for a lot, you know, for lawyers that already appear very visibly for their local organic results. Keep this in mind as this change comes out. If you rely on that spot for a lot of your phone calls, that might change. So you've been getting those for free right now. You might have to start paying for them. But if you notice that, you know, you start noticing competitors' ads appearing in these local results, just keep in mind that that's something that might be impacting your traffic. And again, if this is done through AdWords, which we suspect it will be, you know, some of those clicks are going to for very competitive keywords in very competitive areas. So they're going to start being, you know, $100 for that spot, you know, $200 a click. So it's really going to be a game changer in the local space. If this is, you know, if it's your first time ever doing AdWords, it's probably not going to have a lot of meaning for you. But if you've been in local spot and you've been relying on this traffic, I think it's really important to keep your eye on how this is developing in your area. It's going to have an impact on the traffic and clicks you get from these local pack results.
Right, and just looking at this right now, so if I was looking for one of these attorneys, a personal injury attorney, I would probably go with the first one because it's #1 on the list. It has 18 reviews, the most out of everyone, and it has the highest rating. It looks like a 5-star, but it's 4.8 out of 5 stars. So that's why it's so important. Get reviews, make sure they're good reviews, hopefully, and people are going to click on you more. That's what I really think. So the next thing we have, this is a big one, and this is, once again, notepad and pen moment. For anyone that's listening to the webinar that has it in the background, definitely pay attention here, put it in the foreground, because this is where we're going to give you all the real sneak peek details of how to make your site rank, how to write blog posts correctly, and the biggest key step, obviously, is using a platform like WordPress. So if your website or blog is already in WordPress, that's amazing. If not, you can hire a WordPress expert to build one for you for $50. It's really easy. And the best part about WordPress is that it lets you add pages, edit pages, add blog posts, just like a Microsoft Word document. So it's really, really easy to use. Now, the first thing you're going to want to do when blogging is come up with the title of your blog post. What are you going to write about? Now, the thing is, you don't want to come up with a generic title for, you know, just a generic title that no one's going to be searching for. You want to have a title that's going to be local. So the question is, how do you know what people are searching for? So Google has something called search predictions. So this is actually kind of cool. I'm sure everyone knows this. When you're typing in what you're looking for in Google search, it's going to automatically auto-complete it for you or show you results. So predictions are generated from an algorithm based on what other people are searching for, including trending searches. So this gives you a really good idea of what other people are searching for. So if I'm a family law attorney, I can type in how to find the best family, and instead of writing family law lawyer, I would write family law attorney, because that's what people are searching for. So that would be the title of my blog post. Okay, so this is a really good way to get titles of blog posts. Now, once again, what I didn't do here, you want to make it local. So if you're going to write a blog post on this, you want to end it off with how to find the best family law attorney in Miami, Florida. That's a big key. Now, once you're in WordPress, adding the blog post or creating the page in your site, when you add the post or page, you have a title of the page. So that's step one. You want to put that whole phrase in the title. Now also right below the title, you have the link of the page or of the post. And a lot of people just leave it to whatever WordPress gives you. And a lot of times it's a number. So you definitely want to change that number. You can click the edit button to change it to your phrase as well. Now this is really important. So you have the keyword in your title and in your link. And now we were throwing the word around H1 before, so now you'll know how to do it. So in WordPress, you will type in that word or phrase or keyword to the bottom of the post. And on the top left, if you look there, it says heading 1. So you click that drop down, you change it from paragraph to heading 1, and it will make it as big as possible. So that's what we're talking about when we say H1. That's how you do it. Okay? Gyi, so far so good. Anything to add here?
No, I think that's all good stuff. I can't tell you how much I would encourage you if you're not on WordPress, and we're talking about WordPress.org here, not .com, to switch your site over to WordPress. It's open source. I mean, so many lawyers are paying for these proprietary content management systems. They're literally paying hundreds of dollars a month just to have access to the platform. It's just not necessary anymore.
Yeah, and one more thing to add. I've seen a lot of web design companies that will charge you, let's say, $3,000. They'll build your website, but they will build it on a platform that's locked, meaning that if you don't continue paying them, you'll never get control of your site. You'll never be able to have someone help you out. So if you're ever going to pay someone to build your site, you should demand that it's WordPress, so anyone in the future can help you edit it. Now, the last thing about using WordPress, you definitely want to install a plugin called WordPress Seo by Yoast. It's really easy to install plugins on your site. In WordPress on the left, you click on plugins, you click add a plugin, you type in WordPress Seo by Yoast, and you add the plugin in. Now what does this plugin do? On the bottom of every page and post on your site when you're editing or creating a new page or post, it gives you this little box. This box says SEO title. You want to type in the same title as the top of your post here. And here's where we talk about description. So Gyi and I were saying that you can change the description of your site or of the post, and this is how you do it in this box. Now what does all this do? So look at the top of this post. The top of this image shows you a preview of how your post will look in Google. So if someone is searching for how to find the best family attorney in Miami, Florida, they're going to come up with the title in the title of the page, the URL of the page, and the description of the page. So basically, Google's going to say, wow, this is an amazing match. It matches all 3 elements. We're definitely going to show this blog post on the top of Google search results. And that's how you do it. That's really all it takes. That's how you blog correctly or add new pages correctly. And one more thing to add on this, images are equally as important. So if I'm going to be adding an image about myself or a headshot or my logo, image name is also important. So you also want to put the keyword in the image name. And when you upload an image in WordPress, it also lets you add a title, a caption, alt text, description. You want to add the same keyword to all of these. Now, why are we doing all this? Because a lot of people use Google Images to search for images. Now, if you do all this correctly like this, your image will also show up in Google Images, and you will also get clicks from Google Images. This is a really nice trick. One funny thing that he doesn't really know about, after making all these slides, I went to his blog, and I ended up looking at one of his blog posts and breaking it down, and luckily for you, Gyi, you did it 100% correct. So, so good job on that.
Well, that would be embarrassing if I was missing a title tag.
So just to give everyone an example, this is a blog post on Gyi's site, attorneysync.com, and as you can see, he's clearly trying to rank for the keyword, how to improve your law firm's local ranking on Google. So if anyone is searching for that keyword on Google, hopefully this blog post will show up on Google. So as you can see, he did it perfectly. The title of the post has the keyword. The link, the URL of the post has the keyword. He has an H1 on the page as well, and this image also has the alt text as well. So he did everything right. So after I saw this, I was like, oh, let's see if this blog post ranks well on Google. And turns out it was number 4 in Google. So
not quite
good job on it. It's up there. I mean, you can't really compete with Lawyeronomics, Avo, and Moz. So you're pretty much number 1 in my book.
Oh, thanks.
Yeah, so it does work, guys. You know, it does work. You know, you can see a real-life example here. I just picked any random post and it worked perfectly. And this is how you do it. And it will take time. You know, it will take 2, 3, 4 months to get up there in Google, which is why whenever you're usually working with an expert, an SEO expert, an online marketer to help you out, they're always going to tell you patience. Nothing's going to happen overnight. You're not going to get to number 1 in the first month. It takes normally 3 to 6 months to see results, because that's how long it takes for Google to pick everything up and rank you higher. So patience, patience. Do it correctly, and it will happen. Anything to add on this, Gyi?
Yeah, just kind of the counterpoint there, too. If people are promising that you're going to rank number 1 in 48 hours for your competitive keywords, like, they're just lying to you. So, and even if they are able to get you to do it, the question is how long is it going to last, right? So if they're doing a bunch of black hat stuff and spamming links, maybe they can get you to rank in a short period of time. But, you know, again, how many times do you want to just go through having to start over because your domain's burned down, you've got a manual web spam action, and you disappear from results? So again, I think the transparency really solves everything. Ask these folks what they're doing, what they're planning to do on your behalf, specifically where they're going to be building links. You know, again, and you've got your, there's also the whole legal ethics side of this too, where if they're doing false and misleading, you know, SEO marketing stuff, you've got that risk because, again, as them working for you, you might run into issues with your state bar. So a lot of questions, spend some time learning the basics. You can actually have a conversation and demand that transparency.
Yep, I agree. If it sounds too good to be true, it probably is. So the thing is, once you create all these blog posts and you find your keyword, you need to track the results. Are you doing well? Or if you're paying someone to do this for you, are they held accountable? Are you tracking the results? So one of the easiest ways you can do this is with Google Analytics. Google Analytics is free. It's easy to install. You don't know how to do it, you can watch a video on YouTube for 2 minutes, or someone can do it for you. And it basically lets you know how many people come to your site, how they found you, what link they clicked on, what page they went to, how much time they spent on the page, what's the worst page in your site that people leave from, what city they're coming from. I mean, like, really all these things. So you want to install it so you can get all this information. Now, do you explain how does Moz keep track of results? I think they have like a keyword tracker.
They've got so Moz has a bunch of different tools. One of the things they offer is keyword tracking, but you know, I would even take it back another step in terms of tracking a result. You know, at the end of the day, traffic, rankings, links, all this stuff, none of that stuff pays the bills, right? Legal fees pay the bills. The great news is that you can, if you implement a system, you can track fees all the way back to the source of the original click. So you can see, you know, which channels, whether it's paid search, organic search, social media, some paid ad that you're doing, which of those are actually generating phone calls and form fills from potential clients, and which of those calls and form fills are actually turning into clients and are turning into actual fees for your firm. So, you know, when you're talking about people that are managing this stuff for you, ask them about how you're going to measure return on ad spend. Ask them how you're going to measure return on investment if it's, you know, if you're investing in some kind of other marketing strategy. But connecting all the dots is important, but getting links or ranking for keywords that aren't turning into fees for your practice, it's not going to do anything for you. It's just marketing stuff. It's not actually going to be, impact your bottom line.
Oh, that's a good point. Right.
So Moz does that. I like Stat for keyword tracking. I love CallRail for call tracking. There's a variety of different CRM solutions that have a marketing piece to them that you could look into. But at the end of the day, whatever you're using to track your open case files to close, you want to be able to tie that back to your marketing efforts.
Right. And then a lot of things that we always tell attorneys is that whenever someone calls you, ask them, where do they find you? Did they find you on Google? What were they searching for? What keyword were they searching for? What website did they find you on? So just ask. Ask your customers, and they should hopefully tell you. We're going to do a poll. So everyone listening in, join the screen, and we're going to do a quick poll right now. How many messages do you get from your website weekly? So a lot of people are coming to your site, but how many are actually contacting you? And usually the answer is none. And this is weekly, not monthly. So usually none, meaning no one ever contacts you. Around 1 or 2, around 5, which would be pretty good, and more than 10 would be phenomenal. Right now it looks like a majority are saying none. So we're going to close this poll out and show you the results. And here you go. So it looks like 60% said usually no one contacts them from their site. 28% said around 1 or 2 people reach out to them. And 12% said around 5 a week, which is pretty good. So I'm sure the ones that are saying none can say, wow, some people are getting 20 leads a month from their website. That's a lot of traffic. That's a lot of new business. So if you do it right, you do it smart, you have a good website, you could potentially get a lot of good paying customers, hopefully. Now, tying this in to live chat. So we talk to a lot of attorneys and we tell them, oh, you're using Google Analytics, you get 300 people that come to your site a month, but only 2 a month are even contacting you. So what is happening to the other 99% of the people that come to your site? Where are they going? Why are they leaving you? How come they're not contacting you? How come they're not calling you? Is it something you said on the site, something that you couldn't answer for them? What is the reason? Now you will discover that reason by using live chat. So we love Zopeam. It's one that we use on our site. Now the cool thing about it is that you don't need to be on the computer or logged in or any of that. Zopeam runs all the time, and as soon as someone sends you a message on your site, it will pop up on your computer or on your iPhone or Android if you have the app. So you're pretty much always available. Now I can't even tell everyone how much this helps. So out of those 300 people that come to your site a month, you'll probably get at least 10 or 20, if not more, people that will start contacting you, asking you questions. Now, there is something a little bit more advanced, but it's really important, called triggers. What that means is if someone comes to your site for the first time ever, and they're on your site for more than, let's say, 10 seconds, whatever you want, it will automatically send them a message saying, hi, is there anything I can help you with today? Any questions you have? Anything you were looking for you can't find? And if they write back, then it sends you the message to your computer. So it pretty much automates the whole reaching out process. Now that I'm telling you all this, you're probably going to notice that a lot of websites you go to, including ours, do the same kind of trick. So you can do it also. Zopeam is free. If you want to use triggers, I think it's only $10 a month. It's really, really affordable. Definitely use this after the webinar. Gyi, anything to add on this before we summarize and finish up?
Well, I'll just say that I was very skeptical of live chat for a long time, and eventually someone persuaded me, hey, just try it, see what happens, and it's unbelievable. And again, I think it works really well. It goes back to though that consumers, they want a frictionless experience. Not everybody wants to get on the phone right away. Not everybody wants to submit all their information through an email contact form. So, being able to, now you got to be smart about it, right? You want to, I think it's important to think about the disclaimers you're going to have up for the live chat interaction. I think it's important for lawyers to think about who's actually going to be responding to live chats. But the biggest thing is that you're able to provide some information start to develop that relationship with your potential client, get some of their contact information so you can nurture that relationship. But because it reduces that friction for the consumer, it's very, very powerful for converting traffic into some kind of actionable contact record.
Yeah, and it's really easy to install also on your site, so especially if you use WordPress. They have a WordPress plugin. You download the plugin, you log in, and it's done. It's on your website, every single page of your site. So it takes maybe 2 minutes to set up. It's really quick. All right, so Gyi, thank you again. I just want to summarize for everyone the 10 steps to building and marketing your site. Obviously, build a high-quality website in WordPress or convert your site to WordPress. Create your unique value prop. After this call, when someone asks you, why should I hire you, you should have that answer. You should have that elevator pitch. Get a professional 800 number, toll-free number, answering service, local number. Just make sure you have a good number. Get local. Think about Google, relevance, distance, prominence. Really important, add the keyword all over your site. Don't just watch this webinar and then go back to your daily life. Make sure you spend some time to go through your site, add the keyword, make sure it's local. Try something new in advertising. Try Google Places, try Google AdWords, try Avo. Just try something new. It does take time, so if you start today, in a few months you'll see results. Eventually, if you feel like you're experienced enough, create a local search ad, maybe give it to someone else to do for you. Really important, install Yoast SEO for WordPress. You definitely want to create at least 5 blog posts. If you don't have time, if you have an paralegal or a secretary or anyone else that can do it, make sure they do it. And make sure they're long posts also, but not just 100-word posts, at least 500 to 700 words per post. You want to track the results with SERPbook, Moz. I mean, there's 100 different ways you can track the results. And last but not least, install Zopeam Live Chat. It's very important. And after the webinar, please rate it 1 through 5. Let us know how we can improve. Send us any questions you have. The survey will launch after the webinar. This webinar is recorded, and it will be emailed to everyone. So I definitely recommend reviewing it once you have some time to sit down and implement everything. And right now, we're going to open it up for questions in a minute, so start sending in your questions. Now, really, really important, Gyi gave everyone his personal email and his personal phone number, so any questions you have, trust me, I know this guy really well. He loves giving free advice away. Ask him whatever you want. There's also my information. Be in touch, reach out. We're really happy to help. And while people are submitting their questions to us, Gyi, kind of tell us a little bit about what you do, how you help attorneys, and what exactly is AttorneySync.com.
Yeah, so we're basically soup to nuts, anywhere from web design development to search marketing to paid search ads, managing social ads. At the end of the day, like I said at the outset, we know that lawyers only continue to engage with us when we can prove the results that that have meaning for them, which ultimately comes back to new clients and the types of clients they want. There is a question in the GoToMeeting chat that I thought might be worth fielding really quickly here.
Yeah.
So the question is, should we use attorney or lawyer or law firm? How do we cover these 3 possible searches, i.e. franchise lawyer, franchise law firm, franchise attorney? So the direct answer is that you don't need to include every permutation of every synonym for targeting. Google over the years has become a lot more intelligent, even though they still make a lot of mistakes. I'm talking about their AI here, not the people there. People there are very smart. But the Google algorithm has gotten much more intelligent over the years, and so it can associate lawyer, law firm, attorney. Now, I think it's good to naturally use those synonyms interchangeably throughout your site, but you don't have to worry about creating a page for franchise lawyer, franchise lawyers, franchise attorney, franchise attorneys, franchise law firm, franchise law firm. You can actually see how smart Google is by, if you type in one of these terms, in the results, you'll see different, in the meta description, you'll see bolded words. So if you type in lawyer, and you look at the meta descriptions of the results, you'll see attorney bolded, attorneys, law firm. So Google's able to understand synonyms, and they're only getting better at this. They made some big investments in hiring linguists and trying, the machine is basically learning, natural language stuff. So at the end of the day, the direct answer is you don't need to worry about optimizing a page for every permutation, every synonym. use those synonyms interchangeably throughout your site, but do it in a natural way. Don't try to forcibly, one sentence is lawyer, the next sentence is attorney. You don't need to do that in order to rank. In fact, you can rank for those keywords without actually using the exact keyword match. The other thing too is, of course, is making sure that you're getting links from other sites that include those variations. That's more important, I think, than just using all those synonyms on your site.
Good, very good. Now there was another question that was linked to that one that says, would it be wise using best family attorney Miami, Florida as the main keyword for the website entirely? So no. So what you want to do if you're a family attorney, you want to write your name. So let's say it's GyiTsakalakis.com, and then it would be maybe a comma, and it would say family law attorney in Miami, Florida. That would be the title of the site. That would be the keyword you'd use everywhere. You want to really try to stay away and avoid words like the best, because I don't think I think the ABA actually has a rule that you're not allowed to use those kind of keywords. So definitely check on that. You know about that?
Yeah, so many states, and it's state by state, so you gotta look at your state rules of professional responsibility. I can warn you that Florida is particularly restrictive. But using superlatives like best, specialized, you run into problems. So I don't really recommend it. There's a whole discussion about this going on in various places, but one of the interesting things is like what happens when a site like Avo uses best in its pages, and you complete your profile on that. Are you responsible for what Avo is doing? And we can debate that till we're blue in the face. But certainly on your website, I think it's important to try to avoid that kind of superlative language. Now, and there's all sorts of things about like objectively verifiable and that kind of stuff. So, using testimonials that you're quoting somebody else, arguably maybe that's a different thing. But if you're optimizing your pages for best, if you're putting best in your ad copy or on your web page copy, I would avoid that as a general rule. But this question also dovetails into a different discussion, which is trying to decide what keywords you actually want to optimize for. So keyword discovery is this whole section of the SEO process, and basically it comes down to two major things. One is figuring out what their search volume for. So how many people are searching for any given query, and the second thing is how competitive it is to rank for those queries. Again, not to keep sending back to Moz. Moz has a lot of good information on this. They actually just recently launched a new tool, a keyword tool that's really, really good, I think. David mentioned doing the auto-complete. That's a good way to do some research. But there are a bunch of other tools that will try to associate competitiveness and search volume. If you use Google Webmaster Tools, which is now called Search Console, that's another good tool that will give you impression data, so how many searches in any given time period are going on for a particular keyword. Even if you don't rank highly for them, if you're in the index for that keyword, it'll show you the impression data. So that's another good way to mine impressions. But you basically got to prioritize all these different keywords based on how relevant they are to your practice, how much search volume there is, and how competitive they are. So you might take one approach would be to go after lower volume, less competitive keywords because you think you can rank for them and get traffic in the short term. A longer term strategy is going to be something like going after some of these more competitive head terms that have a lot more volume, but it's going to take you more time to rank. And of course, in the interim, you can always bid on those keywords in AdWords, so that maybe your short-term strategy is to go after the high-volume keywords with AdWords, and your long-term strategy is to go after those terms through organic, but just recognizing that it's going to take some time, depending on what you're doing, to actually appear for those terms.
Right. So tying that into, I see Nancy's asking the same question. So by the way, hi Nancy. I saw that she was in the last webinar on Twitter, asking good questions as well. So good to have you back. So she asked a similar question. She has a national franchise law practice, and she wants to get Google to find her organically nationally. So that's the hardest thing, because if you're trying to target a keyword like personal injury attorney in the U.S., you are up against some serious heavy hitters, some serious humongous firms that are going to outrank you, outspend. I mean, these people are spending hundreds of dollars per click on ads, and it's very hard to rank yourself nationally in that way. And if you're using Google Ads, it's going to cost you a lot of money also. So one of the things that you mentioned, so Nancy or anyone else listening, there is something called Google Keyword Research Planner, okay? And you can use this tool by Google to type in a bunch of different keywords that you think people are using on Google to find you, and it will rank them in order of competition, meaning that there's a lot of competition on this keyword. Do not try to go for this one because you will never win. There's also another one that says, what was it, visibility or number of searches a month. So if it has a lot of searches a month, generally you want to target that keyword, but generally it will also have more competition. So you want to have a decent amount of searches, low competition if it exists, and try using that keyword. But as far as the question of getting Google to find you organically nationally, it's going to be tough. I mean, you have to have Google Places. I mean, you can set up multiple Google Places, but now you're getting really complicated. You want to be in as many directories as possible, but it's going to be hard and expensive for someone to find you all over the U.S. You want to really try to stick to a niche market, like in real estate. You farm a market, you farm a location. It's similar with online advertising. You have a lot more experience than I do on national, so what would you think?
Yeah, I mean, the part of our process is always to research what's actually showing for those keywords nationally. So is it the type of search that Google's showing local results for, or is it showing national results that aren't localized? Google has moved, in the last couple of years, Google has moved a lot more towards showing localized results. I don't know off the top of my head what the landscape looks like for franchise, but you also want to see who's ranking there, right? So if there's a governmental organization that's ranking #1 for franchise lawyer, you're going to have a really hard time outranking them. If, on the other hand, there's an actual firm that's been doing some work in franchise law and has done SEO to try to rank there, you might have a better chance. So it's really about assessing what the SERPs look like for those terms nationally. Are they localized? Do they look different from one area to the other? So if you search in Chicago, is it different than if you search in New York? And then assessing how authoritative the sites are that appear in those top 10 results. So another great tool is the Moz toolbar. There's a Google Chrome and a Firefox extension that you can plug in, and it will actually do an overlay that will pull some of Moz's data on how many linking root domains and how much Moz trust, which are really proxies for trying to figure out what Google is using. They're not one for one, but you get a good sense of how competitive the landscape is. Another thing you can look at is, when you do a search, it will say how many sites are delivered, and obviously the more results that are delivered, the more competitive it is. So if it's if on a national basis it's serving millions of pages for that keyword, you're competing with millions of other pages. Versus if you're only showing 15, then that's going to be a lot less competitive.
Yeah, exactly. And if anyone is thinking about doing a campaign this big on this big of a scale national, trust me, you want to hire an expert. It is so advanced and complicated. There's no way anyone just reading a book will be able to do it themselves. Tying into that question she asked as well, is there a list of directories? So I don't think there's necessarily a list, but you can always just Google whatever people would search for. Like, you have to think what people would search for. Put them in your shoes. So if you're a personal injury attorney in Miami, Florida, you might search for who is the best personal injury attorney, or a list of personal injury attorneys in Miami, Florida. And what you want to do is get at least on all the directories on the first page. If the directory is on the third or fourth page, no one's even going that far, so it wouldn't really matter. You want to make sure they're on the directory is on the first page.
Yeah, and I would add to that Moz Local does have a list of top directories based on practice and as well as location. But so there are a bunch of lists. If you search for like attorney directory lists or like local business directory lists for attorneys, Mike Ramsey at Nifty, he's got a great list. I think Case Mraz at Juris Digital, he's got a pretty good list. So you can find these lists. The key is hit the major ones. Beyond the top, maybe 50, I think it's about diminishing returns. But get the major ones right, get them consistent, and then move on to doing some of the link building.
Yeah, and I would just say, so Avo's a big one, FindLaw is a big one, I believe. Google Places you want to be on. Anyone in the top 10 of Google for your search terms you want to definitely be on. Okay, so I think it's pronounced Keisha. She asked a really good question, and if this exists, then I would love to know, is there a way to get reviews for multiple sites at once without bombarding clients with multiple links for the same review? So I don't think so. So what she's trying to do is ask her client, hi, please click here, leave a review, and that review will automatically go to all these different directories and websites. I don't think it exists.
So here's the worst news. Syndicating reviews is usually a violation of the site's guidelines. So if you have a client go and leave the same review on a bunch of different sites, you're actually hurting yourself.
Interesting. Is that
you don't want to have
content?
Yeah, I mean, that's one way to look at it. I think the bigger thing is that a lot of these major sites view that as an attempt to manipulate versus like a client or a customer just organically going to leave a review. If the same client leaves a different review on a bunch of different sites, I think that's maybe worth considering. Some of the best tools that we've seen that you can look into for just reviews in general to help encourage and nurture more reviews. There's a tool called Get 5 Stars that Mike Blumenthal, who's also a very smart local search guy, is involved in. There's a tool called Grade Us. I think it's grade.us. Another great tool. So there's tools that can help facilitate the process, but there isn't one that just mass syndicates. And well, there actually might be one that mass syndicates, but I'm not going to recommend it because, again, the more that you try to mass syndicate reviews, you're going to start seeing them get filtered, which means sites like Google and Yelp will actually make those reviews invisible, and so you're actually you're shooting yourself in the foot with that kind of stuff. So I would avoid that.
Yeah, one thing I generally recommend to people as well is that you normally want to pick one directory or website that you want to ask for reviews for and focus on getting to be #1 in that directory. So if it's Google Places, Google My Business, if it's Trustpilot, that's a good one, Yelp or Avo, whichever one it is, focus on building as many reviews to be #1 on that site, and then once you're comfortable with where you are, then go to the next site and then ask new people, new customers for reviews on the new site.
I would start with, okay, sorry to interrupt you.
Go ahead.
I was going to say, I would start with getting 5 on Google My Business, right? Because you need 5 in order for the little stars to show up, the review snippet stars. So get 5 there. That's going to be, the Google My Business listing is going to be one of the ones that's the most prominent usually. And then do searches for your name and your firm name and see which listings appear. So if Avo's showing up, then Avo should be a priority for review. Facebook, your firm's Facebook page, people can review that. So Facebook tends to show up. So see which listings show up in search results for searches on your name and on your firm's name, and make those the priority.
Right, and actually there is one that does get syndicated. So Trustpilot. Know that if you have a review on Trustpilot, once you have over a certain number, I think it might be 15, then those reviews pour over and show up on, I know for sure Bing. I'm not sure about Google. Do those reviews also show up on Google?
They do, but that's only for paid. So we're getting into a very specific thing. And they're technically not syndicating them. What they're doing is Google and Trustpilot and Bing and Trustpilot have partnerships where Google will show Trustpilot reviews in your AdWords ad, but it's a very, it's not going to be easy for most lawyers to do, put it that way. So I would focus on the Google My Business page first. Again, if you're not even spending money on AdWords or Bing, then it's not going to be worth it at all to focus on at least that aspect of it. But it's not that they're just taking the Trustpilot reviews and popping them to Google My Business. They're using them for their advertising platforms.
Interesting. Okay. So Martin asked the next question. Martin said, love the new intake forms PracticePanther. Thank you, Martin. And as far as website building, how do you find a reputable company to build your website? That is not easy. So reputation. So number one, obviously reputation. So who's recommending you? Is it a friend? Is it someone that you know, a colleague? Have they built a website with them before? You want to go to their site. You want to see their portfolio. Do they have sites that you like? You want to make sure that you get in writing how long will it take them to build your website. You want to get it done quick. You don't want it to drag on for 6 months. You want to make sure you own the content of the website. You can edit the website. You can change providers down the road, make changes if you want to leave them down the road. You want to find out how much they're going to charge you every month, or how much they're going to charge you if you want to make edits and changes. So you want to ask all of these questions, which will hopefully gauge if they're reputable or not. Look for reviews online. But a lot of times what I notice is that when people build websites, they normally get recommended to a web developer, and that's how they ask for reputation. Gyi, any other advice?
No, I think that's good. I think anybody that you hire, before you hire them, you should ask to see examples and get references so you can talk to people, because beyond just the finished product, and David alluded to this, there's a lot of what was it like to work with the person during the process. And so if you ask some of the people that have worked with that developer or designer in the past, they can tell you, yeah, my website turned out great, but it was a real pain to go through the process. Definitely, as David mentioned, big ones for me, build on WordPress. That way that they don't own a proprietary content management system that they're going to hold you hostage to pay every monthly fee. Pricing wise, for web design projects, I'm a flat fee pricing kind of person. So I don't like website design projects that are based on hourly. I don't like website design projects that are based on just recurring fee for the website build itself. So I usually like projects. So build the scope of work out, know what's included, what's not included. Make sure you own the domain, and make sure that you're not on a proprietary content management system. Make sure you own the content. That's all part of the agreement stuff. But yeah, I think getting a sense of seeing some examples of what they've done in the past and talking to people they've worked in the past, that's probably going to be your best bet to get a better sense of what the process is going to look like.
Right, exactly, good. Okay, so let's see next. This one I'm not sure about this. Marie asked, I'm sorry, what was the name of the lady that was recommended? This was about 40 minutes ago.
Joy Hawkins, Joy Hawkins, Hawkins. She's at Imprezio. I think she's in Toronto. But if you just type in Joy Hawkins, like local SEO, she'll come up all over the place. She's a great person. Mike Blumenthal is another great resource for local, and then Moz Local, David Mim, all great resources.
Awesome. Kristen asked a good question. Is the autofill on Google also based at all on what I have already searched for? So I do believe the answer is yes, and I do believe that when it shows up, it will show up a little bit in a different color, so you searched for it in the past. Is that correct?
That's right. So it kind of depends on what you're using. So if you're logged into a Google account, if you're using a browser that has your search history enabled, all of those things are going to play a role. And in fact, Google accounts, Google's even getting to the point where it's kind of getting scary, but based on your use of email, based on your different searches you performed in the past, based on location, that's called personalization. So they're personalizing the results. They're also localizing the results. Now there are ways that you can purge that information from a browser if you want it to be more quote-unquote organic, that are unpersonalized. Google suggestion would, obviously it's in their interest, but their suggestion is that they're going to give you better results based on knowing your past search history. They talk a lot about this because as you perform different searches and you're refining your searches, it helps them tease out what the intent of what you're actually looking for. If you don't personalize them, every query is just based on like the raw data that they have, and it's not going to be, it might not reflect your search intent as well.
Interesting. Yeah, I've
noticed. And that's why a lot of people will say, well, I looked for myself on Google and I don't see that I'm ranking for this term, and it's like, well, there's a lot more at play here than just you performing that single search. There's also search flux on a daily basis. You can see that the search results are moving, and they're moving by a bunch of different factors. So that's why it's important to keep rank tracking in context. At the end of the day, if you really want to measure the effectiveness of search, you've got to tie it to some meaningful business metric. For lawyers, that's case fees, open client files, client inquiries, don't get hyper-focused on like, oh, I'm in position 2 today, position 3 tomorrow, position 1 the next day. That's really a waste of your time.
That's called the Google dance, I think, right?
Yeah, some people have called it the Google dance.
Yeah, they keep dancing around, yeah. And one thing to note also, some people say, oh my God, we're #1 on Google today. It's not really the case. It could be that you've visited your site so many times that Google knows you're looking for that site, and it's just going to show you that it's #1 because you've been there so many times. So it's only showing that to you. So don't get too excited if you see that. You want to maybe try opening a different computer, different IP, or incognito, which would also probably work as well. A few people, I think Matthew, Eric, Keisha, Kara, they've all asked if the webinar is recorded and available. Yes, it is. It's recording, still recording, and it will be available on our blog later today, practicepanther.com/blog, and we're also going to email everyone with the link. Let's see. Kobe asked a really good question, and this is going to have to be a little debate, I think. Is WordPress better than Wix for the purpose of SEO? So I'll give my answer. I haven't used Wix in a long time, but I've heard that it's gotten really good recently. My only thing is that WordPress is so big and so many plugins for it. You can keep adding on. There's always new things coming out. There's always improvements for SEO coming out with WordPress. There's so much available for WordPress that I would say that if you're not using WordPress, you're limiting yourself to so many other plugins that are out there that could potentially be helping you. It's not to say that Wix isn't good for SEO. I'm sure they have a lot built in that can help you do a lot of these things. So I'm sure it's good. I'm sure it will work. But my answer is that WordPress is better overall in general if you want to get more advanced and build on top of it and add more things on it. It's more of a platform. Whereas Wix is just a really easy website builder with drag and drop capabilities.
Yeah, so a couple things here. Google doesn't really care what platform you're on. But what they do care about is how the information is optimized. So, and I would do some research on Wix and SEO and Wix and de-indexation stuff just to do some background. And I don't want to say anything bad about Wix, but basically I would say Wix is what I would call proprietary content management systems or website builder. Same thing as Squarespace. In fact, in my opinion, if you're going to go with a website builder that's not WordPress, I would consider Squarespace. But the issue is how it's configured. So WordPress can be horrible for SEO if configured improperly. Wix can be horrible for SEO if configured improperly. The key is to make sure make sure your on-page optimization is locked down. So, are you generating descriptive URLs? Are you generating a single title tag that reflects the page title? Are you generating a meta description? Are you generating a single H1 tag? Is the site loading quickly? So that's another thing too. A lot of these hosted website builders, and I would even say you should be careful, but GoDaddy's economy class hosting on this. If your website is slow, page load time not only is a ranking factor for Google, but it's also how many people sit around and wait 5 seconds for a page to load. No, you just click back and go to the next site. There's nothing more frustrating from a user than a page that loads slowly. Also, if you're choosing a website builder, make sure it's a responsive design. Make sure it loads on a smartphone and a tablet the right way. I can't tell you how many law firm websites I come to that they don't render properly on a smartphone. And guess what? Most people, if you look, you don't have to be a web expert. Just look around you. You still have people looking down at their phones all day.
Well, they're playing Pokemon, I think.
A lot of them unfortunately probably are, but Pokemon looks great on a phone. That's why people are like one of the reasons people enjoy it so much, I suppose. But the point is that the biggest, for me, the biggest knock against any website builder is you're beholden to continue to pay them every single month, whereas with WordPress, it's open source. As David mentioned, there's global development, there's global themes being built, global plugins being built, very well supported. You can take it on it. You can go with you whatever host you want to go to. I like WP Engine, which is manned WordPress hosting. But make sure your site's loading fast. There's a site called GT Metrics, GTMetrix.com. Put your URL in there and see how fast your site's loading. you might be surprised. It's not loading in around 1 second. You need to do things to configure it to make it work better.
Yeah, and we use GTmetrix a lot to check a lot of our pages. Also, Google has like I think that is Google's, right? The speed test?
No, Google has Page Speed Insights, which is also good.
Yeah.
I prefer I like to use both. There's really three that we use: Web Page Speed Test, GTmetrix, and Google Page Speed Insights. But if you're going to pick one, I would recommend not GTmetrix. That's just me.
Yep. And just for everyone that has WordPress sites, you definitely want to install a caching plugin. There's one that's really, there's two big ones, but the one that I think we might use is W3 Total Cache. And what it does is it saves a lot of the images and information and content ready to load much faster for everyone coming to your site. And if they come back to your site, it doesn't have to reload every single image on your page, every page they go to. It's saved in their browser. So that will significantly, maybe even cut it down sometimes by almost half the time. So that's an important tool. Let's see. Nancy asked a follow-up question. What about Drupal 7 versus WordPress? I haven't heard of Drupal in years. I'm surprised they're still around. So it's the same thing as before. You know, WordPress is global. I would go with WordPress if you had a choice. If your site's already in Drupal, not much you can do. I mean, you could always hire a web developer to convert your site over to WordPress, which shouldn't be too bad. But I haven't heard much from them in a long time. Anything on that, Gyi?
Yeah, I mean, if you're comfortable with Drupal, if you're comfortable with Joomla, which are other open source platforms, that's what you've been using, and you don't need to rely on the developer to update those things. I think they can be okay if they're configured properly. You know, me personally, I don't find Drupal to be as intuitive as a back end to use. I also feel the same way about Joomla, but there are some people that swear by Joomla. You know, for me, for most law firm websites, you know, unless you're doing like some kind of sophisticated e-commerce or some kind of weird functionality that most law firm websites don't need, I tend to recommend WordPress. You know, I think there's some things about that you can do to what they would call hardening WordPress to make it more secure that are important. But you can just search for hardening WordPress. But it also depends on like how much of this you're doing yourself versus how much you're working with a developer. If you have a relationship with a developer and they develop on Drupal, you're going to have to ask yourself, you know, do I want to continue this relationship and pay this person whatever I'm paying for development work? Do I want to consider migrating over to something like WordPress, which I might be able to administer myself, in which case you might save the money on all the development work. I mean, I've seen firms that are on these proprietary platforms, and every time they want to make a change, they've got to submit the change request to a developer. So they got to assume that the developer is going to be able to do it, and they're going to get charged for that. Versus on WordPress, you know, if you spend a little bit of time learning kind of the basic back ends of how to update pages and posts, you can do that yourself, and then you don't have to pay the developer every time you want to make a change to your website.
Right, right. All right, it looks like second to last question comes from Nancy. Does live chat work as well? Does live chat work as well for attorneys that work primarily with businesses or individuals buying a business? So I think live chat works for any business, anyone in the world. The whole point of live chat is to answer questions for people coming to your site that are afraid or shy to pick up a phone and call or to email because they know that now you have their information, you're going to bombard them forever and follow them for life. So that's what it is. With live chat, it's really informal. They can submit any question they want and get an answer without revealing who they are, without giving their information away, and staying anonymous. That's why I think live chat works so well. Gyi?
Yeah, like I said earlier, so my experience was, and I think there's some things to think about in terms of the user experience. You know, if your live chat and you know, changes the entire, you know, you can't do anything else except for using live chat. I think it's a bad user experience, but you know, anecdotally in my experience, I was very skeptical of live chat, and I can't, and we're talking about law firms. I'm not talking about for attorneys' sake. I'm talking about for clients of ours that have implemented live chat. And you know, a lot of the concerns were, well, is it going to cannibalize phone calls, or is it going to cannibalize web forms? We really haven't seen that on average. You know, people that want to call, they use your phone number. People that want to fill out a form will submit it through a form. People that want to chat, you know, they're going to fill out the chat. And I guess the one thing to keep in mind is that you will attract people that are looking for an answer or looking for some, you know, free legal advice. And there is an art to lawyers hate the word sell, but the truth is that you are selling them to some extent in terms of convincing them that they actually need a lawyer and that you're the right lawyer for them. And so when you deal with things like live chat, when someone comes on and says, to ask a legal question, you've got to nurture that to the point where they're actually qualified whether they're not going to be a good candidate for you. The same thing is true of phones. I just think that live chat, because it reduces the friction, you need a way to be able to efficiently answer the phone and vet whether or not these people are going to be qualified potential clients for you, or else you're going to become frustrated because you're going to say, yeah, live chat, I got a lot of inquiries, but they were all trash. A lot of people say tire kickers or whatever.
Right.
So the point is, my attitude is this: cast a wide net, have a series of questions available that you can quickly and efficiently determine whether or not this person is going to be a good candidate for your practice, good fit for what you do. And if not, you got to say, look, we're just really not the right fit. We don't handle this kind of work, or based on this factor, we're not going to be able to work with you. But at the end of the day, the more ways you get people to contact you, the more likely you are to convert a visitor into some kind of contact.
Exactly. That's what it's all about, getting them to make the first interaction with you, so now you can build a relationship with them.
Right.
All right, last question. It comes from email from Alex, who says, there are many SEO companies that tell me they will get me to #1 on Google guaranteed, but they need a 6 or 12-month contract prepaid upfront. Does this work? Oh, man. We were talking about this earlier. Yeah, that's amazing. So I will say the quick answer, no, stay away. No one should ever guarantee you anything, especially on Google. Things change all the time. That sounds very sketchy. There are black hat tactics that will get you to #1 on Google within a week, maybe even a day, but then your website will be gone from Google for months, if not years. So you got to be so careful. One of the things that you said earlier that I had no idea about you is that you don't lock people into contracts like most companies do, which I love. So you definitely want someone who's transparent, who's going to show you results monthly, and not just make the money for the year and not care about you anymore. Now, yeah, I'm definitely passing this off to you because you can comment on this.
So this is what I would say. I would say, okay, I'm going to agree to prepay. I'm going to agree to a 1-year deal, and you're going to agree to get me ranked for this specific keyword, #1. But if any day for the next year I don't rank #1 for that keyword, you owe me 10 times what I paid you.
Ooh, that's good. That's good. Yeah, you'll be pretty wealthy by the end of the year.
Right. That's the thing is that one is we talk about search flux. It's going to fluctuate every day. Even if they do get you to rank for #1, how long are they going to be able to maintain it? If you prepay them for a year and they get you to #1 for some competitive keyword by doing something that's super spammy for Google, and then Google hits you with a manual web sim action, you're not getting your money back, right? They're going to say, well, we got you to rank. The other question we see with this scam a lot is they pick the keyword, right? So if I pick some very low competitive keyword, I can get you to rank tomorrow. If I pick a word that no one's ever used before, I can get you to rank tomorrow. But that keyword's not going to drive any traffic if no one's using it. And any traffic that it does drive, is that going to turn into potential client inquiry and eventually a fee? And that's why focusing on things like growing potential client inquiries and actually tying it to fees is a much more effective way to manage or to measure internet marketing, and really any marketing, right? Think about this. If you had a billboard up and you had a tracking number on it, let the billboard be up there for a particular amount of time. If you're getting phone calls from the billboard and those are turning into cases more than you're paying for the billboard, you're getting a positive return on ad spend, maybe you stick with it. There's a whole other idea of branding, which I'll leave aside, so that you're trying to trigger people to think about you when they need your services. But most internet marketing is what we call direct response. So it's they click a link, they come to your site, they see what you're offering, they contact you. That kind of stuff can be easily measured in terms of cost per client, cost. Obviously you can do a return on ad spend if you can tie it to actual fees. But those are the things to focus on. Don't get obsessed about rankings. Don't get obsessed about the number of links people are building. Focus on those business metrics that actually have meaning to your bottom line that help you pay your bill.
Exactly. And I think that's where a lot of companies fail, where they just like, oh, look, we brought you traffic, but doesn't convert to paying customers. And that's the most important goal. You're spending money, you want to see a return. So make sure whoever you hire will give you a return. All right, that is it for today. Thank you so much to everyone for being here. Gyi, thank you. Man, you're awesome. I love always speaking with you, so thank you so much again. This webinar is recorded once again, so we're going to be emailing everyone with a link to record, to view it, and it's also going to be in our blog shortly. Feel free to reach out to myself or Gyi anytime for any questions. And that's it for today. Gyi, thank you so much again. I really appreciate it.
Thank you, David. Thanks for everybody who joined. And as you said, any questions, don't hesitate to reach out to us.
Thanks. All right, take care, everyone. Have a good day.